You know, there's a certain beauty to Elden Ring. I've gotten, well, some hours through the game. The hours aren't important. Just know that I've beaten the Falling Star, fully grown Falling Star beast at the top of Mount Gilmere. That's really all you need to know. And while I love hanging out with these merchants and things, one of my favorite things in this game actually does not involve finding the exploration too much. It's more of the reward for the exploration. Specifically, the design of the progression of what you get. So even though I'm late game, I'm still buying all this armor, all the stuff that I missed. I want all of this. I want all of that. And that is because more armor equals better defense and better offense. So finding the armor, finding places to buy the armor, makes you stronger, more powerful. Hello. And you might think, oh, well, it's your weapon doing that. It's your Ash of War. And this is true. But the Ash of War, even though it's currently the main star of the show, with this amazing Stomp, look at the range and the damage on that is insane. That's not what I'm trying to go for. The thing about this game that I really love is the progression, because I started off as an astrologer with a basic short sword that I upgraded to +1. I started off with very, very basic shield that I probably sold already. Yeah, certainly did. It was less powerful than this scripture wooden shield. No, yeah, it was not that. And I also started with this Tortoiseshell staff. So I was very basic. Had a sword though. Had some melee capabilities. Had spells, a Glintstone Pebble, which I still use. Very nice. And even with that, I could go around beating enemies. Had my kit, you know, it wasn't terrible. Still had an impact, was able to beat early bosses. Probably earlier than I should have with the Tree Sentinel and the Knight's Cavalry on the bridge in Limgrave. So I was satisfied already, but I knew that things could be better. For one, the armor was terrible. Awful. Awful, awful armor. And what I touched on earlier is that the more armor that you get, and this is not just in terms of like raw upgrades, but the more armor that you get, the better your defense is. So I got more pieces of armor, and I do recommend trying to farm some armor if you can. The more pieces of armor that you can get, the better. And I got my defenses. This allows me to engage in melee better. Allows me to use the sword. I've seen a lot of people say go for what is it? Just pure ranged int, and while that can be very powerful, once you run out, or if you're stuck in a very terrible situation, you just die. It's over. It's just over for you. It's not worth it. So I do recommend having a great variety and touching up on melee. And I'm glad that the game provides and allows a large amount of mixed combat and mixed combat builds. Let's see, don't think I've been down there. I'm dead. Could have thrown a rainbow stone. 14k runes is whatever. Not important. So, in these tools that I had, there's only a certain amount of weight that I could carry on my person without heading into fat rolling, without heading beyond that 70% medium load and fat rolling, which is no good. And because of that, in order to have decent defenses while maintaining a great varied offense, I need to specifically min-max the armor with a variety of armor sets. The more customization that you have with weight in armor, the more customization and little tools that you can have for your weapons. And this is what I mean. More armor is better for your defense and your offense. Now, thankfully, this was already in DS3, so I knew about this. Knew about it for a while. What was also in DS3 was very simple but satisfying weapon progression. You probably start off, if you played for a long time in DS3, you probably start off as a knight or a pyromancer, one or the other. You're going for like a dark build of some kind, or a pyro build, because they're extremely powerful in PvE. And the progression for the dark build was, start off with a longsword, you get that to decent, maybe like +1 or something, and then you immediately farm the Lothric Knight swords, and you get Lothric Knight sword to +3 or so, and that's your main weapon. You know, it's got that 110 critical, got all that damage, it's got the range, costs a little bit more stamina, but it's got a great moveset. And the kicker is, it scales really well with Int and Faith when you infuse it dark. And so does a large amount of weapons in DS3. You'd also get your hands on Staff, Talisman, very good crossbow, and almost most importantly, for a lot of players, the Black Knight Shield. So you'd start with your Knight Shield, then you'd grab the Kite Shield, which would allow you to use your weapon art to break stances and poise through and get some counter hits. And then you'd switch to Black Knight Sword, or Black Knight Shield, which was basically the same thing, but extremely, extremely better. Just incredible shield. And it was satisfying to go through the game with all of these things that you knew were the best. That you already had it, you're just upgrading it, you're building on what you already have at that point, but you've already made some progression. It's very satisfying. Elden Ring, it was a big mistake to upgrade this straight sword as much as I have. The scaling for like Int Asha Wars on weapons can be pretty good, but not on a very basic weapon. So probably want to not use any of your starting Limgrave weapons once you have better weapons. And because of that, it was totally a trap for me to upgrade this Lordshorn straight sword all the way up to +14. I said, hey, I'd probably want something that I would be able to use on an enemy that's really resistant to magic. Like, okay, I'm a magic man, I want Magic Asha War on my main weapon, and then I want this side weapon Got that nice classic moveset. Charge R2, which is very good in this game. Look at that jumping attack. Classic jump sweep on the jump R1s. It's like, okay. Everything there is pretty good. I can just infuse this with like Golden Vow and make it keen for the dex or standard, whichever one was higher. And then if I go into combat with a big magic man or what have you, I can use this weapon, can Golden Vow, and go in super strong with non-magic. And the game said, no, I got you. And it made magical enemies not ultra resistant to magic themselves, like pretty much for all that I've seen. And because of that, I could just go any weapon that I wanted to, magic infuse it with, well, the early Asha War for magic infusion is Gravitas, which is great crowd control, by the way. Love that. Love Gravitas. And you'd go in and it'd have this weapon that scales off of my my int, and I'd be dealing really good damage to everybody. So there's a little bit of a trap having some sort of off weapon. Like, oh, just in case, have a little something. Nah, doesn't really work that way. So please don't do what I did. But I did use Lord Sword and Straight Sword as an upgrade just at the start to my short sword, and it worked really well. And I recommend, if you start, like, you want to go Spellblade, go Astrologer, you start with a more versatile weapon than the thrusting sword that the prisoner gets, and far more versatile spells that the prisoner gets. And also the stats per soul level is better on the Astrologer as well, if you want to go Spellblade. So I don't know. I wish the prisoner was better, but it looks goofy, so I don't know. If you want to look like a goofy man, go ahead. I would say there's plenty of ways to look goofy otherwise, but hey, you do what you want to do. It's your game. So at this point, maybe around the seaside caves or whatever it's called, I had the Iron Round Shield, and then I had this Lord Sword and Straight Sword +3 with Gravitas infused. Got the nice little upgrade in Iron Round Shield. I can use Weapon Art, which was Gravitas. And it tanks a little bit, just enough for me to get in, do what I want to do. Which is wonderful. Gotta love that. However, the real fun began as I found out that there was the main shop at the Round Table Hold. That main shop, you can give bell bearings, basically the ashes system from DS3. And I said, oh, I know what to do. And in my quest for more armor, more things, and my eternal hatred for Patches, I went and killed Patches. And not only did I get all of his stuff to sell, so I didn't really lose anything, but I also got, and this is very cool for this part of the game, where is it? I'm trying to find it. I got Patch's Spear, which is +7 out the gate. So I'm sitting here, I had +3 Lord Sword and Straight Sword, and now I have this +7 Spear, which I infused with Gravitas, of course. And I use the Spear a lot. Just taking out the Stormhawks at Stormvale Castle, block and poke. It was so easy to deal with a lot of enemies. Doesn't have the Partisan sweeping R2, which would make it very versatile, but the damage at this point was so good. So good. I also went inside the Dragonburnt Ruins, got myself a little scare, as I assume most people will, being transported all the way over to that crystal mining cave out in Caelid, the Celia Crystal Tunnel. And oh my god, that was really scary, but very rewarding, because at the Street of Sages Ruin nearby, got the Meteorite Staff and the Rocksling spell. Now the Meteorite Staff, it's still my main thing for spells. It works just fine. I get a boost to gravity sorcery, which, I mean, I've got 3 gravity sorceries. My other sorceries are more utility at this point. And the gravity sorceries are utility and damage, and they get boosted. So if I look at this can't be upgraded. And I compare it to another one of the staffs that I got, and I upgraded it all the way to plus 12. It has 4 more scaling. Nope, JK, 1 more scaling for no buffs on my gravity or anything. Not worth it. So, really enjoy that S scaling. I appreciate the buff in the gravity sorcery. And I was kicking all sorts of ass. On horseback, on foot, what have you. I was destroying people with that. This combo. It's got the shield, got the spear, got really crazy spells in Rock Sling, you know, Glintstone Art, Glintstone Pebble. Whole lot of versatility and utility. And damage. And the beautiful part is, I didn't have to invest any stones into my staff. I could invest them all into anything, or I could save them. Which is what I did. I saved them. Now going forward, killing Godric, moving on into Liurnia, and, of course, the Weeping Peninsula as well. There's a couple of more really amazing progression items that you can get. So, first option would be Tortoiseshell. Now notice when I put this on, in the upper left corner, the green pickled turtleneck symbol appeared. Now even though the shield doesn't say, in the passive effects, grants a buff to stamina regen, that symbol means a buff to stamina regen. See, I can take this off, and the symbol's gone. And if I go over and put the green turtle talisman on, which boosts stamina recovery speed, symbol's back. So, it's a little hidden something on this shield, which makes it very good, as well as that now I have a shield that deals 100 physical reduction. It normally comes with Barricade Shield, which allows me to tank and guard counter enemies that are very weak to that, and bosses. Or I can slap a no skill on it and use Gravitas whenever I want it. In Liurnia, there is a quest that you could do that involves part of the Weeping Peninsula. You go down to Castle Moor and you do all that, which, I mean, it's so fun. Of course, being able to use this Barricade Shield Tortoiseshell plus guard counter versus the boss there, very satisfying. It's what you need to do as part of that quest. And you go out in Liurnia, you find this guy who's trying to avenge his daughter, and he's hostile at the Revenger Shack. And if you kill him, he gives you Banished Knight's Halberd plus 8. Now I have mine at plus 10, but I had this at plus 8. Oh, now we have a little bit more range, more damage. Still got thrust, it's a little slower, but that's fine. Got great range, I've got great two-handed capabilities. The nice two-handed charge sweep. forget the name of the Bloodborne weapon that you start off with, like the something axe that has that sweep. It's so nice if you space it right. So I used this weapon, slapped the gravitas right on that. At this point, also with Rogier and Stormvale Castle, you can slap a whole bunch of int Asher Wars onto things and have like a variety of things. But I don't really do that because with this weapon, gravitas, and the shield, out in Caelid, I wandered off to these ruins, and let me see if I can find which ones those are. One of these, I think it's the Forsaken Ruins. But not too far out. One of these three, without a doubt. Probably the Forsaken Ruins. It's a very tight space, a lot of poison, slug centipedes. You can kill them very easily with gravitas and spacing. Make sure to have your neutralizing boluses or, yeah, neutralizing boluses. And in that chest there is a weapon that I have to give a whole lot of praise to, and one of the more underrated weapons, especially compared to what I just showed. But it's the Meteorite or Meteoric Ore Blade. This is a int katana that takes somber smithing stones to upgrade. So now I have this special weapon, scales with the int, also upgraded with somber stones, which I have not used yet, so I have a bunch hoarded up. And the one-handed move for the katana is actually really nice. It wasn't that good in DS3. It's very good here. Classic. And one-handed and two-handed, the R2s on the Meteoric Ore Blade is the Ichimonji, and the double Ichimonji from Sekiro. Show this from the side, hopefully. There we go. The speed of this charged R2 and the range and the verticality made me explore melee combat in Elden Ring like I hadn't done before. Because landing charged R2s like this on a weapon as strong as this, on bosses, tough enemies, big trolls, what have you, is going to stagger the shit out of them. And then, of course, having a nice shield, we get guard counters on point. Jumping attacks are nice. Look at that. Got a bit of an angle to it, so it has that verticality and horizontality to it. Very, very nice all around. The guard counter is a sweeping slash. Everything about this is very nice. So, while the Tortoiseshell taught me how to guard counter, the Meteoric Ore Blade taught me how to engage in R2s. And of course, you know, great damage, great R1 moveset like I mentioned before, great guard counters, comes with gravitas. I mean, what's not to love? Get your combos going on crowds, or just spam gravitas. And it has bleed, like all katanas, except for one, but I haven't really used that yet. It's not important. The bleed, especially on horseback versus large enemies, dragons perhaps, allows you to get huge damage per percentile of their total HP. And that makes the DPS of this weapon skyrocket versus those enemies and bosses. Getting bleed off, plus stagger, plus the damage already from the Ichimonji. That's insane. So very good, so very versatile. I love this weapon. And I used this weapon to fight a certain boss out in Caelid. A very, very tough, annoying boss. But I was able to get what I would say is an upgrade to even that, which is the Moon Veil. Now, I'm sure everybody and their mother has heard of the Moon Veil Katana. Rampaging through PvP scene, you can see it's a little longer than the Meteorite Ore Blade. It's got a different art too. However, we won't be using that art too to break stances anymore because, well, look at this Ash of War. Look at the range on that. It's got a hitbox on the blade and with the slash of magic. And this, dance breaks. So now we can control crowds, we can dominate PvP, we can stagger bosses, and even though the R2 is just okay, that doesn't matter anymore. Because we can just relax and unleash whenever we need to and get huge damage at great speeds and get that poise bar filled up so that enemies and bosses stagger quick at even better damage than the Meteorite Ore Blade. Now, I heard that there were even better katanas than this. For different builds. But, for my build as an int Spellblade, this seems like the king. At least for now. And in some situations, probably go back, like very rare situations, I'd go back and use the Meteorite Ore Blade, or I would dual wield them. Power stance, which is a whole lot of fun as well. Now we've got DPS among DPS. Crazy combo chains. Got very nice crouch L1. Which of course is the rolling L1. Running L1 is pretty good as well. And if we need to, we've got the weapon arts that we want. Can break plenty of stance, build up bleed. Do whatever we so desire. A whole lot of fun. You might be wondering, what was that crazy weapon that you showed at the start? And this is a twin blade that I got basically from the Midsummer village up in the Altus Plateau. You'll know exactly what I mean when you see it. The boss at the top of that area drops this weapon. And I did not care much about twin blades until I got this. Now, the original Ash of War on this weapon is really slow, and the initial wind-up looks like it should have a hitbox, but doesn't. And it's really sad. And I was disappointed. My friend Gavin was disappointed. I think all my friends will be disappointed. And anybody watching this video will probably be disappointed. Because it's really cool, and I'll show it off right now. So it's called Black Flame Tornado. This intro does not have a hitbox, just the AoE. So this slash that looks like it belongs right in a twin blade moveset, no hitbox. Only the AoE. So all of that wind up, you're just gonna get smacked and destroyed. And that's not fun. But it's got a great moveset, great design. Got very good damage. You know, it basically kind of power creeps the twin blade, which I didn't really enjoy. But I got this upgraded very nicely with my main set of smithing stones. and I can't wait to max it out. But infused with this Ash of War, Hoarfrost Stomp, it pops off. It absolutely pops off. And really, it just pops off with any cold enchantment. Or bleed if you're going an arcane build or what have you. Because of this moveset, it just gets Frostbite right on enemies. Combos really well with running attacks. Into Hoarfrost Stomp for crazy DPS. The combo chain is huge, the damage is huge. Infusing it, of course, with Cold is lovely, as it scales with Int in a way that isn't terrible. Look at that. Got that B scaling in Dex, and continuing with D scaling in Int. Not bad at all. Usually when you infuse something with like magic or something, the scaling of Dex, you see, just drops through the floor. Like it's E scaling. It's destroyed. And it's like you get a trade-off. You get that C scaling int. You've got your lovely increase in damage compared to Frost. However, the Frostbite being percentile based, just a little bit better. Got that additional effects on an enemy. Combos well with this incredible weapon art. I love this weapon and the Ash of War. So happy that it exists and that it is, as far as I can tell, better than the regular Twin Blade. Now, because I had to go all the way up to the Altus Plateau in Midsummer Village, I'm not getting that instant progression gratification that I've praised from DS3. I had to wait a long time before I could use my main upgrade stones for my main weapon, right? Got this beautiful beast here, and then I can go Moonveil and Meteoric if I need so. It's a lot different from having your full kit and kicking ass from the beginning. However, I do appreciate that the best weapons in the game, you gotta go out and earn. You can't just farm some low-level chumps and call it a day. Even though that's satisfying in other regards, I love being rewarded for the exploration. Yeah, the exploration is fun on its own, but it being meaningful is what I really, really love about Elden Ring. And with that, see you guys some other time. Thank you for watching.